Welcome, everybody, back to this special episode, our first episode of Belt Kings Radio presents Champions, guys. Episode 18. Yes, it has been a while. Episode 18 is here. We are live. As always, I am your host, Mike Knox. That is your host, nephew Corey from the Wrestling Marks of Excellence. My kicks are my fix. On every social media. What's going on, Curry?
What's
Corey?
going on, man?
Woo!
What's going on? Yeah,
I did, and that's a shame because that's not me. I know your name,
right.
I know everything, but it's fine. We are here, man. It's been a while. You look healthy.
Yeah.
Off the Super Bowl last night. He's the GOAT. Do you not say he's the GOAT?
Yeah, he's there. I mean, this, if anything, this is me personally. I just respect this championship more than any other one he's had. So. Just because he went to another conference, man.
Would you say this was the hardest route? Some people say, so I don't think it was, but what do you think? You think it's the hardest route? Tom Rodriguez, John Cena, Brady had to go through?
I mean, statistically, I would think so. I mean, he was a wild card team. I mean, he
first
didn't
time
win a division.
Wild card. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is his first time as a wild card winning, the Super Bowl. So, I mean, he had to go through the route that was, he had to go through Breeze and Rodgers and Mahomes to get a championship. So,
all right, I give you that. But guys, listen, this is Belt Kings. We are Belt Kings. This is Champions, the radio show presented to you by Fox Sports Radio 1340 and 1340 AM Fox Sports. That is Hopewell, Virginia. Listen, guys, today's show and what Belt Kings is about, Corey, is simply title belts. Mm-hmm. Right? We're collectors. We're belt collectors. Some are kings. Some are emperors. Some are, dukes. It doesn't matter. But however, you collect championship belts. And we like to talk about those belts, how they're made, where they come from, our opinions about them. And then most importantly, because it is professional wrestling and wrestling is storyline, we're going to talk about some of the best and guys to have this title. And what title today, Corey, if they can't see below, we are talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about the first rendition of the NXT championship. So
this will be a good one. 2 renditions?
Yeah, there's a second version that they currently use, but the first we're going to be talking about the inaugural one, the first one, which I do believe you have in your background.
Yes, sir.
Yep. So we'll be talking about that one.
Well, I will say this much, guys, and everybody, thanks for tuning in right now. We are streaming across all platforms right now. We appreciate you. Yeah, I bought the bulletin, came over to StreamYard. Hey, whatever. Cheap pop, but it's not. But listen, Corey, we are talking about the first rendition of this title. And obviously, guys, my name is Mike Knox, right? You know that. Everything I do has 3 X's involved in it, except for Belt Kings. There's no X in it. Or I'd have tried to put it there somehow, right? But this is one of my favorite titles. And simply because it has the X on it, right? And I just love this. Like, WrestleMania 30 is my favorite WrestleMania because of the stage in itself. It just things point out to me. Hey, I'm a little vain. It's all right, but these things are happening. But I love this NXT title, Corey. Talk about it, where it come from, how the thickness of it. Let people know about this title.
Well, this one's one of the more. It was more untraditional, I guess you could say, from what the typical WWE championships were looking like at that time. When that one came out, it's about maybe a 9 or 10 foot, good gosh, 9 or 10 inch X on the middle of it. And that's pretty much what identified it to most people, is that huge X it had on there. It has 3 standard WWE logo side plates on each side. This one's also a little bit of a thicker strap. It's not your traditional kind of strap that went around. It's a pretty tall strap, I guess you could say. It's more of the thicker one, and it like I said, they
like really a weight belt.
It's almost like a weight belt. Exactly. They really wanted to make sure that this belt was distinguished from the rest of their standard championships in the WWE at that time. In which this belt debuted, I think, around 2012. They wanted it to look different because the NXT product was different at that time. And it still is, but they wanted to make sure you knew that this was something totally separate from what the typical WWE product was at the time. And they still pretty much do that to this day. A lot of people, a lot of the NXT loyalists, they aren't as loyal anymore, I guess you could say, because maybe the product is more so To me, it hasn't, but it more so has changed into what a standard Raw or SmackDown looks like in their eyes, but not to me. I mean, but this belt, when it came out, it was something truly, truly different. It was something I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. That big X on there is pretty cool. You're going to know what championship that is. Granted, it was emblazoned with all your WWE logos on it because it is the WWE company, but yeah, no, I always thought that belt was just a cool belt to have and see. So,
no, not only is it a cool belt, and you said what makes it stand out, right? NXT at that time meant for the next generation in a sense, right? So you have this big logo that stands out, but yet still let you know solely who they are. And you just mentioned about NXT and some of the loyalists. I personally still think that NXT is my favorite wrestling program. It gives me the best of old school and tradition, more modernized wrestling in a sense, right? I think that sometimes that's forgotten. You want your modernized wrestling today, but you forget that it has to be driven by those old heartstring storylines one way or another, at least in my intelligent wrestling mind opinion anyway. But we're talking about this title, Corey. And like you said, it's pretty heavy. All right, guys, I'm not going to lie, guys. I'm in the process of moving soon. It's on the wall just for you guys. I'm not taking it off. I'm not going to put it back on the wall. All right, so you've seen this title around, like I said, and please comment below. Let us know your thoughts on this. But and what's going on, everybody out there tuning in. But you look at this title, this NXT title, and the thickness and how it stands out from some of the other titles, especially at that time, being as thick as I mentioned, a weightlifter's belt. You know what I mean? Like the ones, guys in the gym will wear chalk up all, like the Hulkster title thing he has in his back, just painting a picture for those listening to the podcast as well. But you look at this title, and to me, it does stand out. And one of the main reasons to stand out about it is, you said the first rendition of this belt, because there are two renditions of this title. I think they started making the second one in 2014 to 2017. That's the longest that one lasted.
Yeah, so the original belt, which was passed along through Rollins and Big E and Bo Dallas, and I believe and I think Bo Dallas was the last one to hold that first edition of that with the scratch logos on there, and then it switched to the network logo championship of the NXT with the big X, which that's more identifiable with once they switched over to the WWE Network in 2014, and through 2017 up until WrestleMania weekend in Orlando, when they switched all of the championships, and and I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty cool to do. If you were going to do that, do it for WrestleMania weekend, and do it for all of them. And so I thought that was pretty cool that they do that. But this was when they went to the more traditional setting of championship belts, I guess you could say, to where, as opposed to this first one, actually, and to be honest, all in which we're talking about the NXT championship here, but to be honest, all three of those championships that they had there at the time, the women's and the tag as well, they were all different. Like they were all like markedly different, to where you could visibly see that unless you knew this was the WWE's product, you would think this was an entirely different organization, because their belts look nothing like what was on the current program of WWE.
And that's what stood out about them as well. In every title, the women's NXT title, the women's tag team title for NXT, and we'll get into those titles as well down the line. Trust me, we will. I have this title, Corey. Do you have this belt?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I have the first NXT one.
Okay, so same one around that I have as well. I believe I picked mine. I can't remember where I even got mine from. I'm going to be honest and be fair here. More than likely, I think I got it at an NXT event in Richmond, Virginia, if I can remember. I'm trying to remember. I think that's where I got it from, but I don't remember. Also, don't remember all the times I bought in titles or purchased titles, if you will, so to speak, at an event, right? So I can't remember how I came across this one, but you can get them right now. Do they still sell this belt on WWE?
No.
So, okay, this is how does one get this title? If one is obsessed with titles, and I know, shout out to DC Collector tuning in, listening in right now. He gets in trouble at home because he's a belt king now. You can't just have one belt, y'all, and be a belt king. Corey will think that's okay. Okay, he does. He does. He thinks it's okay. Me, you got to have 5 belts to be a belt king. At least 5 titles, guys. I don't care. $5
I'm
to be a champion.
I'm saying one, but apples and oranges. but
and I like orange juice better than apple. So there you go. The Eagles 74 tunes in says bring back Big Goldie. Maybe one day. I think they'll bring that back. I think they'll bring that back. But
I will say just something to that. The big goal will always have the connotation of being the NWA and WCW, which is why I firmly think they will never bring it back. Okay. I could be totally wrong, but I don't think they'll ever bring it back. And I think that's the reason why, is because it's always going to be associated with the NWA and WCW. No matter how many, WWE logos or whatever they throw on it. I get it. Believe me, most of us all grew up on that belt.
It's an iconic title. You're going to remember that belt. You see it more. It stands out. It's recognizable. We're talking about titles being recognizable. Big Goldie's definitely one of them, Corey.
Yeah, it is. But at the same time, from a business standpoint, you see where WWE is going in the sense of everything pretty much is WWE. Yeah, and it's WWE centered. Yeah, like that belt will always be somebody else's belt. Even when they, like I said, even back in in early 2003, when they put the WWE logo on it, it was still in most people's eyes the NWA WCW World Championship. It will always be associated as that. And from a business standpoint,
all I ever see is NWA. That's all I ever see for me.
So from a business standpoint, I totally understand if WWE never brings that championship back. They got to market what is the WWE standard, which, as you see, all these sports teams, every time they win a major championship, WWE's shipping over a belt. It's a big WWE logo on the front of it. It's the easiest free advertisement you can get. So why not? Why change it? Yeah.
And we definitely don't see them doing that. That's just WWE. That's not who they are.
Yeah, that's their business. At the end of the day, I know we are all nostalgic, and it's not a thing of beating up on somebody wanting, because everybody wants. I've wanted the Winged Eagle back since it's been gone, but I understand.
I still want the Big Eagle Gold belt.
Yeah,
or the undisputed title.
Yeah, so people. So I get it. I get it. People want this stuff back, and they, it's nostalgia. But at the end of the day, they got to keep moving as a business. So I get it. So.
And shout out to my man Phil checking in on the Twitter and on Facebook saying, yeah, I agree. The visuals when you look at Big Goldie and what he thinks about, it's just NWA and WCW. Yeah, so that's what he sees. And Michael Grant also checks in from across the pond saying Big Goldie will make a cameo appearance. It's always going to make a cameo appearance, right?
You'll always see it some kind of way. No, and he's absolutely correct. You'll always see it at some point. Familiarized with something, whether it's a Flair appearance or you'll always see it some kind of way. But as far as it becoming an active championship again, I can't see that.
Oh, I almost gave the phone number out like I was live on air. I did. But where can someone get this title from, Corey? This is a belt that we're on social media. Right. And God, there's so many people, Corey, and I'm just a puppy and trying to get the Instagram and stuff started with Belt Kings. And so many people followed. I know you see it. It's just they flooded with their belts. And people, you have to be weary of where you buy titles from. And I always want to encourage that for those who are new listeners to Belt Kings. Like, don't just go out there and rush to get a title. Be careful about going to eBay and doing. Not saying you can't go to eBay. Shout out to Mo_Eaton. Lord knows that's his gold rush.
Yeah, that's where I get a lot. That's why I've gotten a lot of mine as well. So it's not so with eBay. What you want to do, you just have to, with anything, you have to do your research, you have to do your homework, pretty much. This NXT championship, I actually got it from WWE Shop. This was after they had changed the championship. It was pretty much to a point where once I saw, and I believe it went down to 160 or 170. And that's when I snagged it because I knew, okay, they're getting ready to discontinue it. And then the NXT Tag Championship, they had it at the NXT House Show for 150. So, and the actually, to be honest, if you may or may not remember at Access when they changed the belts the night after Takeover, or the day after Takeover, all of the current the old NXT championships were marked down, and the women's one, I think they had marked it down to about maybe $200.
Yeah, I don't think I paid a grip for this belt. And we talk about that all the time.
Yeah,
About
yeah.
the price of belts we've had. I don't think I paid over $2 for this. Next time somebody asks me about, and I always say, well, about $250 to $300 or higher for my titles. I don't think I paid that much for this NXT title.
Yeah, that NXT championship, I think even at retail was probably about maybe $325, and that's probably being generous. It probably was $300 at retail. So you probably did catch it under on a deal. And pretty much now, to answer that question of where you can get it from, you can still search eBay. There are quite a few people who have they've gotten rid of the. You kind of had to catch that belt, at a time where it was kind of under the radar, because now it's been gone long enough that people are starting to jack the price back up for it, because now they know it's a collector's item. So, you can go to eBay. You can always, there's a bunch of people that make belts out there that you can probably get one customized. But if you wanted one from the standard WWE issue, you can find it on eBay. I want to say ballpark, you're definitely going to pay about probably $3 something if it's in like mint condition, because they know it's a collector's item now. So, pretty much now, and that belt, like I said, it's to find it. It's becoming more of a unicorn now, because now people that want it have gotten it. You know what I'm saying? So to see somebody trying to get rid of it,
I laugh because that's my spirit animal. It's a unicorn.
Yeah. So even mine, it's so funny when I went to SummerSlam. Dang, that's about 2 years ago now, coming up, when it was in Toronto. I did the Finn Balor signing, and I was the last one there. And I came in, and he's like, "Oh, yeah," because I had my Universal Championship and my NXT Championship. Take pictures.
You always try to bring the titles of the person you're going to go meet of the belts you had. I think that's pretty dope.
Yeah, so that's what I did. So when I took it to him, and he, I had him sign. And I always try to get something kind of personalized, and it's not to sell it, because I always say that to him too. I was like, I want it personalized to me. Something different on there, so that way. And he personalized my Universal Championship, first Universal Champion, SummerSlam, 2016. So, and then my NXT one, he saw it. He was trying to figure. He's like, I really want to put something good on this one. And then so he signs it. He puts and then at that time he was the longest reigning NXT champion, I believe, and he put the he was at that time. Yeah. And he did that, and he put the 292 on there, and he did all the inscriptions and everything. So that belt, that one I kind of have. There's maybe only a couple of champions left that I need for that particular championship. Mm-hmm. But I've got Sami Zayn on there, Samoa Joe, Kevin Owens, Shinsuke. I'm the one I tried to get at a Mania, but his line was too long, and then it was gone. And now it's almost going to be almost impossible now. I tried to get Neville. Okay. Bo Dallas was an easy one to get. It's just, so I tried to. Let
me blind tack here. Would you go to an AEW event knowing Pac is there and take that title to get signed?
Yeah.
Okay. How people say, how people frown upon stuff like that.
No, it's one thing to take it to the show just to have it at the show with you.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Yeah. First of all, they're your belt. That's the one thing I'm gonna say. You can do what you want.
Right.
I don't care. You can do what you want.
Rock out.
Especially for the fact that AEW doesn't have replicas yet. Yeah. I took a WWE replica to a TNA event before. I didn't care. The reps came up to me and said, "We're almost done making belts. We got to get you a belt." And I was just like, I'm just like, but at that time, every company, and that's really what I'm kind of waiting on too, because there are really there are good custom ones that are made out there, but I am interested to see if AEW finally kind of jumps on that train of making the replicas, because from what I've heard, some reports are out there that WWE's sales last year of championship replicas went up 100%.
Yeah,
last year.
Pandemic was the best thing for title belts in your title collector, and then I just sat around and watched them, and they just kept popping them out. You see that?
Yeah,
they just keep popping them out, including one I want to talk about soon. I plan to get is that new Razor Ramon title that came out. But to me, it's the best looking replica that I've seen. But when I saw toothpick holder in it, I knew I had to have it. But I want to talk about this title a little bit more because, again, it's one of my favorite titles, Corey, is this NXT Championship. And the people who have had this title from the first champion being Seth Rollins to 5, Big E, right? Big E. Bo Dallas, where I was before a believer, was a Bo Dallas fan, all right? I've been an Aaron Neville fan, Pac fan still. I think that's one of the few balls the WWE's dropped.
Well, Aaron Neville sings, but I get it.
Okay.
He's talking about
Adrian Neville. Thank you. So when you think of Neville, what other Neville's going to come to your mind first? He didn't like the name. Change his name to Pac, it was so bad, right? Then Sami Zayn, then Kevin Owens, and I have that on right now. Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, Shinsuke Nakamura, but champion after champion after champion for this title, Corey. And the runs to me for them all were also equally important because this became what NXT had begun and did with this belt and just coming out. It was them trying to slowly but surely took that Ring of Honor crowd, that ECW crowd. They went from being Florida Championship Wrestling into NXT. They rebranded themselves. So this title was important to branding themselves. And the perfect champion was taking someone, which they poached a lot of talent from all over the place, especially Ring of Honor, and getting Tyler Black, now known as, I call him White Jesus, Seth Rollins, the Messiah himself. This is where he starts at. This is where, in a WWE scene, rather. And he's the first champion. To lose that to Big E, which we're still waiting for Big E to get another championship. Just what is some of your favorite champions for this title? Because I know you have yours. And I know this belt has not been that long lived. It has past champions. It's been the stepping stone to coming to the main roster. I have my Mount Rushmore of this NXT title, by the way.
Yeah, so this belt was around long enough. It was around for 5 years. The champion that immediately comes to mind with that that was like the guy with that championship was Finn Balor. Like that really kind of put him. I mean, he was already on the map, but that really kind of showed like, okay,
that's when I bought it.
Yeah. So him and Shinsuke are probably the two that I would honestly say, like, okay, thinking of that particular championship, those are the ones that immediately come to my mind are those two. And I think that would almost be the same for a lot of people for maybe like a Seth Rollins or something. But if you didn't have Hulu or you didn't have access to living in Florida at that time to get NXT, you didn't really see Seth Rollins as champion. You didn't. You never saw that run. You never saw when he came up as with the Shield and it was still kind of pre-recorded to where he was on the main roster, but he was also still in NXT at the time, and he was still the NXT champion and ended up losing it to Big E. And then, the same thing with Big E coming to the main roster. He loses it to Bo Dallas while he's on the main roster. And then that's when the network era kind of came in because people forget Bo Dallas's really, really great run with that championship. Because he was like a 200-plus day champion with that as well.
I have it here because you're always on top of everything. So I got to make sure you don't always overshine me, which still does when it comes to history. It's the truth. 280 days was Bo Dallas.
Yeah.
So he definitely held it for a long time.
Yeah. So, I mean, for that run, and especially when
top three.
When you think of people don't give him that respect, I guess, when you think of NXT champions of the run that he had, because a lot of people try to just associate his career with his, somewhat okay main roster run, but he was the man in NXT for a long time. So for him, that's somebody who up until the network came on, you didn't really see those first three champions unless you were really following NXT. And then, then you get to the network era and, Adrian Neville wins the championship on the first NXT special in the ladder match with Bo Dallas. And from then on, that's when you kind of started seeing he had a really good run too. Adrian Neville, he had a really good run as champion.
Neville was my guy. Like, it's just, the name was dumb. You know what I mean? And then, like, he had the body. I don't think they ever dropped the ball often. I shouldn't say ever, right? Often, as in just an oxymoron. But I don't think they dropped the ball very often. I think some guys, it's time to go and come back and just do things. And, it's what it is. And I thought letting him go was a big mistake. But, of course, politics behind the scenes and guys want to be the man just because, you know what I'm saying? Rico told Ace Boogie that. So,
Right.
But this title, I'm gonna just say it right here. My Mount Rushmore for this NXT title is obviously Finn Balor, number one.
Yep.
I'm gonna go Neville number two. I'm gonna go Kevin Owens number three, and here's why. I gotta say this, and yeah, I'm a mark. It's whatever. It's my list. I'm gonna go Sami Zayn number four on the list because Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn brought out the brutality of this title. To me, it was the first time they had NXT actually had a true Owen versus Brett, Shawn, that hatred of each other, being best friends. The storyline coming over from Ring of Honor over and doing it over in NXT's, WWE's platform and their production. I thought was phenomenal. And I know I didn't put Shinsuke on there, which hell, that guy got over by a music alone. Yes, you may have known him, but for a lot of WWE fans watching NXT, they didn't know Shinsuke Nakamura. And he's instantly got over just from his entrance. That says a lot. That's my honorable mention, but that's my Mount Rushmore, Corey.
Yeah, mine is somewhat similar to that, but I'm going to go Finn Balor, Shinsuke Nakamura, Adrian Neville, and Seth Rollins. That's my four. I want to put Kevin Owens on there bad, but I'm going with those four. He's right up there, but I'm going with those four.
Listen, you can't go wrong. I'm taking any one of these guys. Any one of these guys they still do go, right? They're still great in their own rights, but we both have Finn Balor, right?
Yeah.
What do you think was the disconnect, or has it been because that we go back to New Orleans? They're pushing him heavy to all cultures at that moment, but yet still not. What was happening? Now he's back in NXT and he's back doing what Finn Balor does. I would always know him as Prince Devitt. That's just who he is to me. I know it's not many I know before they get to WWE. He was one of them. So I was always a fan of him. Why he's not on the main roster doing what he does best, which he does in NXT?
I think his style translates better in NXT and the caliber of opponents. I just don't think they ever could really tie in something. I know injuries were a big part of that, but I just don't think creatively they never knew what to do to fully bring out what they had in Finn Balor on the main roster.
Him and Seth could have been so great together.
Well, we got a couple of matches. We never got any true programs except that initial NXT Universal Championship program.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, they had good one. Yeah, they had good one-offs. But I mean, other than that, realistically, it's just he was a great attraction and great moneymaker on the main roster, like as far as merchandise and all of that. But I think the style that's on the main roster, I just don't think they were patient enough to fully take advantage of what they had with Finn Balor on the main roster. But they knew what they had enough to send him back to NXT, and now he's flourishing as most would expect. So
are we moving into that? Do you think we're moving into that chapter where some guys will just be in NXT? And the second that question with Balor, I think as much as I love Prince Devitt, as much as I love the Demon Finn Balor, he's a little smaller than most smaller wrestlers. Although he's chiseled, he's a little thinner than others. The WWE seems to be going back to the bigger style of guys again right now. And maybe that's also the reason for Finn Balor. But just what he's doing and what he does is just phenomenal. Samoa Joe was not on this list, right? Neither one of us put him on our Mount Rushmore of Samoa Joe. But Samoa Joe having his title, 121 days. Of course, he lost to the Shinsuke Nakamura. Talk about matches that you were there, Brooklyn, New York. Was that back to Brooklyn? That was the second time, right?
Yes.
All right, so it's the second time they were there. One of my favorite matches of all time at NXT for this title is Shinsuke Nakamura versus Samoa Joe. This was what you watched this match. And NXT, I remember my son saying, "Dad, there's nothing they can do on WrestleMania that's going to beat that." You know what I mean? And then quickly the next night, whatever it was, my kids go, "Oh, that was it," because it's two different kind of wrestling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you watch NXT and you watch WWE, they're just one's just really all excitement and entertainment. It was, oh wow, that was butt kicking action going on right there. NXT does that. Give me one of two of some of your favorite matches at NXT for this NXT title.
For the NXT Championship, I would say definitely Finn and Samoa Joe from Dallas, because it gets blinded from the fact that they were kind of stopping the match a little bit, here and there, because Samoa Joe got cut open, and they were kind of fans were kind of booing it because they did, but the match actually was really good. Samoa Joe in not Samoa Joe, Finn Balor in London, and I want to say, oh man, I'm forgetting who he fought at Takeover London. I want to say that might have been Samoa Joe as well. I can't remember, but that one was also really good. Shinsuke Nakamura and Samoa Joe, the first one in Brooklyn. The second one in Toronto was also really good too, when Samoa Joe got it back. So I want to say, those are initially the ones that come to mind. But
I love this belt. I love this belt. We hadn't been back for a while. First show in 2021. I want to bring up something that could grab them again. You know what I mean? And I think this NXT title is a belt that I know I have as a belt collector. I would repurchase. And again, it's one of the few belts that go around my big ass waist. Okay, so I like it for that. If no other reason alone. But sure. I just love this, and I mean the guys that have it, like the list go. We talk about the Intercontinental title. That's the workhorse belt, and the greats that have had the Intercontinental title. The Macho Mans, the Mr. Perfects, the Ravishing Rick Rudes of the world.
Sure.
Could you compare this title to that?
Yeah, you could. It's kind of I would say it's kind of the workhorse title in the sense of who they bring over from different organizations and to see how they hang with a championship. Something else I kind of compare that to where now you kind of do have another actual workhorse. I think all the titles in NXT to an extent are workhorse titles, but that's kind of why they have your North American Championship, to put the shine on people that maybe for credibility purposes gets a belt in NXT just to maybe have one before they bring them to the main roster, or to see how they maybe fare before they get the NXT championship. Because somebody I think that was NXT North American champion, just to kind of say they had a championship before they went up, well, two people. One is Keith Lee, but the other one I was referring to was Damian Priest.
Okay.
I think he is a guy that he has main roster written all over.
So you're high on Damian Priest.
Oh, yeah. He's good. They're high on him.
You guys are making me pay attention to him more, because one bad appearance. If you go to a restaurant one time, have a bad meal, you won't want to go back. I've seen him in the Ring of Honor show they had in New Orleans, and I wasn't impressed. So
he's one of the ones that they come around often, but he's one of the ones that truly embody to me
wrestling,
what a typical Vince McMahon-ish WWE superstar looks like. The charisma, the height, the build, the talent.
He has a test build. He definitely has a test build.
He is a guy that they are going to push, and he's going to get pushed pretty quickly too. Whether they ever cool him down or
they cooled off my man Lee there. Jesus.
Yeah, but I think there's bigger plans in store for him. I really do. I
hope so.
I don't know when they're gonna get to it, but I can't believe that WWE would be that to shy away from the talent that he has. So I really think it's good. He may need some tweaking. This is not me saying I don't like him.
Right. But
there may be nuances that they may need to tweak or, turn the volume up or down or something on him. Granted, you could bring him up and he should have just been what he was essentially in NXT.
Yeah.
But it's not NXT on the main roster. And I know people will always, they'll backlash me on that, but it's a different environment on the main roster, which is why I kind of understand when they want to change certain things or they want to maybe, just tweak something just a little.
A little slight rebranding.
Yeah. And I get, when people, I get the saying, if it's broke, don't fix it.
Right.
I get it. But the main roster is the main roster for a reason. They do things differently over there.
So the first thing that came to mind was the Ascension.
Yeah,
I remember saying, I don't know why everybody crapped on it. I was like, okay, there's still the Ascension just because they put paint on. And
but it was
they're the Road Warriors. No.
No. It was the promos associated with it to me. The paint was one thing because I get they had to rebrand them and they weren't going to just bring them up as what they were in NXT. I knew that from the jump. But when they started referencing the Road Warriors and all these other tag teams from the past, it did not rub well with other people, and it was just the fans were like, "Oh, not only are y'all coming out here even looking similar to them, y'all are crapping all over them too. No, we're never going to accept you," and they never did. So
fast as they rise, they're fast as they fall.
Yeah.
This work title, and again, I had asked that question. I'm gonna answer it a little bit myself. But we got out of here is. That the comparison of the workhorse Intercontinental Champion of the greats that come to pass, because you look at this title, and I'm going to go back here to this list. I'm going to name them. Tell me when Seth Rollins, Big E, Bo Dallas, Neville, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Balor, Joe, Shinsuke, Joe again, Shinsuke, Robert Roode, Drew McIntyre, Andreas, Aleister Black, where is he at? Tommaso Ciampa, Gargano, Keith, Adam Cole, baby, 403 days, Keith Lee. I mean, the list, I haven't seen a weak link in here. I know some would say, Sami Zayn or Bo Dallas. And I say, go back and watch these guys then. Yeah. No, they're not layups. They may not come to the main roster and been the slam dunk I had hoped they would be. But look at Sami Zayn still going. People don't like his antics. I'm all for Sami Zayn, everything he does.
Sami Zayn will be one of the breakout stars of 2021. He's going to be him between him and then maybe on NXT like Kyle O'Reilly. Those are going to be your guys that really kind of stand out by the end of this year. Sami Zayn is honestly at some point he's going to have, if not at least a program for the WWE or the Universal Championship. He may have it, or he may have Money in the Bank or something. There's too much of an instance that Sami Zayn is consistently knocking it out of the park every week. Some people that don't understand the motives or the way that he puts his character out there for its presentation.
Yeah,
he is somebody who in like 2010. And then all of a sudden Miz blows up and he becomes WWE champion. I see that in Sami Zayn. They're giving him too much television time for them not to have some kind of investment.
Too much television. That's what I say. People say, I can't stand him. That means that he's doing his job.
Television is not cheap, as you know. Television is not cheap. So all of that time. Yeah, exactly. All of that time you're investing in some. He is consistently on SmackDown every week, either in a match or in a segment. It's not even just an appearance or you just see him backstage. There is something dedicated to him every week. You're not doing that if you don't have some kind of creative investment in them. So I want to see where they go.
Definitely interested in that. And listen, guys, we're going to get ready to get up out of here. Episode 18. Yep. Welcome back, Corey. Yep. My picks are my fix. Wrestling Marks of Excellence. This morning on Around the Blocks with Mike Knox, we had the topic Bianca Belair. And her rise. Do you think this is the same road to WrestleMania that Andre and Hogan had? Do you think she can be the number one talent in the future in the company? And also when it refers to Bianca Belair, her and her match with Sasha Banks, answered those questions. I know the Wrestling Marks Excellence coming up would also have those. We're going to do a little trifectas here around the networks and get them all together at the same time. So I'm interested to see what your thoughts are on some of those topics. You want to hear mine? Go listen to the other show. How about that? Go here.
I can just touch on it real quick and just say she is definitely a star in the making, if she's not already a star now. I don't think it's anywhere close to what Hogan and Andre are being, and I'll get more into that on other shows. It's not even close. It's not even comparable yet. But it's as of right now, no.
And I said the same thing. It's that was too big.
Yeah, that's literally going from the kiddie pool.
Biggest moments in WrestleMania history.
Yeah, that's
WrestleMania all at the same time.
Exactly. That's going from the kiddie pool to an Olympic, to the ocean, basically. Like, no, it's not anywhere near that. She is a star, but she right now, I see everybody kind of has this hope and promise with her that they should, because she is going to be big. But don't put too much on that right now to where you're disappointing yourself if they don't do nothing with her. And it's to where,
like they did with Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, like don't put too much. Let it develop. Just let it happen. Don't try to predict it now that, she's going to be so big. She's going to be so, like, she, at the end of the day, right now, she's not crossover yet to where Sasha is right now, where she's on other stuff, where Becky Lynch was, that she's on other stuff. It hasn't happened yet. It will get, I believe it will get there, but we can't throw her in all of that stuff now. Like, let her win. She has still not been women's champion yet. She just won the Royal Rumble. You got to let these things happen first before you have her, all this stuff emblazoned upon her, and then none of it ever comes to fruition, and then you're just sitting there like, well, I really thought they were going to do. No, let it happen. Yeah. Because right now, you put too much on her, you're setting your expectations too high. Not that she can't meet them, but for yourself.
When she don't get it, then you're going to cry and complain about it and say, well, they didn't give it to her. No,
some stuff happen anyway. It just doesn't happen all the time. She still has to win the women's championship first. And right now, it seemed, me personally, I would love for her to go all the way through Mania, win the championship, have that good run. But I could see them pulling a swerve and Sasha Banks wins. They did it last year. Everybody thought, hey, look, how many people thought Rhea Ripley was going to was not going to beat Charlotte? A whole bunch of people thought she was going to beat Charlotte last year. Charlotte went in there and won. Like, no kind of extra, cheating or, any kind of chicanery to do. Charlotte went in there and beat her. And they essentially was like, yeah, she's the fastest rising star coming out of NXT, but don't forget, Charlotte Flair is Charlotte Flair. And that's what they did. That's what they did last year.
Wrestler of all time. Just want you to know that she is. But Corey, thank you again for tuning in, guys. Episode 18. We'll be back next week for episode 19. What belt will it be? We don't know, so you don't know, guys. Listen, we're out of here, y'all. Peace.
Everybody got a